quite a few of those who phoned in were actually worried that because their parent had dementia and they now reached a certain age where the old memory is not so good, they started to really worry quite badly about and assuming that it was going to be them getting the dementia because it was hereditary and so on. So, and it was quite a few people actually phoned in with that perception that, you know, if your parents have got it, you're almost, and what seems to spark it off is you reach a certain age when the old memory does start to struggle a bit. I must admit, my own is not as good as it used to be. But it seems that, and what they said to them was, just make an appointment with your GP and ask for the 12-question assessment, which is a very crude first assessment as to whatever. And that brought me back to what I did with my dad it was about 10 years ago, when he started behaving a bit strange, and I wondered about it, and I invented this, they've lost your papers, we've got to go to the doctors, you know, sort of situation. And it worked really well. It was just a dozen questions, and he phoned me afterwards and said, yes. He said, I'm afraid you now need to go to the next level of it, test, you know, because it's clear he's at least one. He's definitely one, at least stage 2 even, you know. So there's quite a bit of low-hanging fruit there with that statement. If we could somehow, through one of these vehicles, put that message out, just make an appointment with your GP and ask him to do the 12-question initial thing. I just thought I'd mention it because we've got dementia on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, thank you. That's probably a worthy thing to get included in any publicity material that's involved with the dementia working group, which is something that RDC can include in its publications.
Yes, I think the idea of the dementia working group is where we as a council can add value, because there'll be other commission services, but it's where we can add value. So what's going on locally, promote the awareness where we can. And as you say, with that 12-question assessment, if you can identify it early on, then there's more chance that you can slow down that progression.
Yes, you want to come back? So.
Yeah, it is important because some years later, my wife's sister's husband, her brother-in-law, we were down there for the day, and I just felt I could see similarities and mentioned it to their children. And, of course, they didn't actually like the idea that I was saying that. And I said, just get the test. And eventually, one of them organised the test, and sure enough. And he was Alzheimer's. And so I think just that knowledge, if you've been through it yourself, you can almost feel it, you know, you recognise it. And we expect people like me, when I encountered my dad first of all, it was all strange to me. So there's something about there making people aware that there's an easy way to find out if they've got that first bit of worry, you know. That's the point I was trying to make.
All right, thank you. Councillor Efty's got a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just more of a statement, just some stuff that's come out from the Dementia Working Group. We've had a whole new dementia outreach group been set up in the district. What came from it, because of the figures I saw, and I was chatting to people and I said we need to do something about this. And that group had one of its first meetings. It was very well attended. So it shows how much this plays on people's minds and what the value is to this, because the people who set it up, there's a team of about 8 of them, and they're so passionate and infused to do this. It is something that should be everywhere, and they visited other dementia working groups and see what they did, and hopefully taken the best of what they've done and moved on with it. So it's such an important thing that we need to deal with. So I remember the first meeting we had showing us the stats on how many people are going to get dementia in the next 20 years. And I came around quite scared, actually, really. It is a really big really big issue. So I'd just like to say that, and Kim with all the work, and Lucy and everybody else that's done so much work, and there is so much help out there if people just know where to ask and who to ask. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Councillor McPherson?
Thank you, Chairman. It's a question, I don't know if Kim can answer this. Most recently, I went to the Rayleigh Museum, and they're all signed up to be completely 100% dementia friendly. And they took great pride in showing me all the changes that they've made. I'd like to know how many businesses have signed up to this and what incentives we can give to these businesses, such as a role of businesses that have signed up each week on our social media so they get a plug on there. But it gives people places that they can choose to go to shop in, if that makes sense. So I'd like to know how many of our businesses are engaging with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim? Good.
I know there's quite a lot of businesses in Rayleigh because of the work that Councillor Brewer has done. I am working with the economic development team to see how we can spread that out a little bit more and then talk to the businesses around the stigma as well, that they can actually just make minor adjustments and make their businesses more dementia friendly as well.
Thank you, Kim. Well, if that's the case, perhaps Councillor Brewer could send me a list sometime, because I actually administer a social media page that's got over 20,000 followers, and I'll be more than happy to give these businesses a big boost. Thank you.
And now we've got Councillor Brewer's got a question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Strangely enough, yes, there's a lot of businesses in Rayleigh that are aware. They haven't gone through doing an action plan to get the accreditation. Normally that is that they are very busy. Some of them are smaller businesses. The larger ones, it's got to go to another level. So that's where the Alzheimer's Society normally come in to try and... I didn't bring it up with the airport because I know that they are actually working with them, and they've done a lot at Stansted and made a lot of changes, the same as similar to the museum. Different things with the toilets, access for all neurodiversity, training the staff. The problem with the businesses, yes, I can tell you the ones, but they haven't actually signed up to a plan. And I've probably still got the photographs of those sort of support action week. They'll promote it. Some of them have still kept the hearts in their windows as well. What's been brought up with the Inclusive Dementia Communities Board and the Alzheimer's Society and Essex is that I brought up about these businesses that are happy to have the information, but they haven't got the time to attend lots of meetings, or their staff, they'd have to want to be paying them. So we are looking at, and I will find out later this month, that we're looking at it from the other angle, that if we have been into businesses, shops, retail, whatever, and we find that they have adapted to what is needed for people living with dementia and other problems, we will recommend them to the IDC, me, and others, and we will then give them something. And where I said we could have like a sticker that they can put on the windows or the doors to say that they are dementia friendly, let's put it that way, and that they're welcomed. My cafes do promote businesses and places that I know that people can go to. So that's that side of it, Councillor McPherson. Back to Councillor Cripp's point, yes, that's what Dementia Action Week's about. That's the main body of what we keep trying to do, is to promote, get an early diagnosis. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as getting somebody to fill in 12 questions. I've got copies that I can hand out to anybody that you can actually get it from the Alzheimer's Society, print it off and put it down, so you can take it yourself at home. I also spoke to the NHS and the outreach guys. We know some people that they come up and their wives might say, he won't go to the doctor, as you yourself said. So if we can find ways of getting them there, as you say very rightly, doctor's lost your paperwork, you need a blood test. But then that means that the relation has got to go contact the doctor's practice to tell them that those people are coming in, and it's not for that reason. There has to be that, and it's quite difficult because a lot of the time, particularly very in close family relationships, they don't want to admit that there's something wrong with their partner or somebody else in their family. So there is also, heaven forbid, 2 years ago, I was promoting in the high street. There is a blood test for diagnosing at an earlier stage, especially if you think that you may be having this within the family. And one gentleman came up with his wife and he said, I know that my grandfather had it, my father's had it, it's bound to be in with me. And he went to the doctors and they said, oh, we don't know anything about it. So I've reported that back, obviously, at that point, and it's if these societies can get to the doctors' practices that want to accept that they know there's going to be somewhere that they can. Audley Mills are absolutely fine. They've done all the training, all their staff get the regular training, they've got the accreditation. Other surgeries didn't want to know. Admittedly, they're busy, everybody's busy, but if this can be diagnosed early on, medication early on, again, it's prevention before the cure, and it's going to be great. So I think that's all I was going to say. If there's anybody who wants to ask me anything, you can ask me later, I don't mind. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Brewer. Any other members got any questions? I happen to know from my father was very, very ill and ended up in an NHS hospital, but he didn't seem to be getting a lot of help in there. And I raised merry hell, and they moved him to a geriatric hospital, and they identified a pathogen in his system. Corrected that, and then he knew everybody, and I could invite, although he was on the way out, but I could invite all his friends, he could sit and chat with them and everything. And the whole root of it was actually asbestos when he worked in the 60s, but they didn't know that until after he died. So that was, but that hospital, which was a marvellous place, is now a housing estate. This is the modern world, isn't it? But I quite agree. On YouTube, there's I think it's an American site which has got questions on it if you want to test yourself. But I don't know if that's kind of validated in the way the NHS would look at it. But certainly RDC can do something to advise. And thank Councillor Brewer for all the work you do on this. It's marvellous. Thank you. By the way, if there's no other questions, the report is for noting. Thank you. Now we can move on to item 7, which is the committee work programme. The report begins on page 19 and it sets out the work programme for the committee for the 2025-26 municipal year. Sorry, and Greg Campbell is going to give us a...
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I moved place. There was an issue with the sound tonight, so we sorted that out. Thanks very much, Chair. There's nothing further to add. It is, as the Chair says, for noting. Thank you.
Councillor McPherson?
I think we can ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems a little bit light and thin on the ground. Sorry. Compared to scrutiny, I know this is slightly different format, the committee, but compared to previous years. And I presume the CSP's been already covered, because I can't see it on there.
Well, yeah, there could be other issues to add to this, because, I mean, tonight we thought we were getting a longer presentation, a full presentation, PowerPoint and whatever. And that changed last week, so that's why tonight's so. The report about the NHS Section 106 monies, which I think Councillor Steptoe has expressed a desire to be involved with, and also the other issue, the road safety around schools. We're calling in SEP and calling in the police about their actions or lack of to explain what the problems are. So that may be quite lengthy, but we could bring out something else forward for that session.
Well, if I can come back, please, Chairman. Community Safety Partnership is one of the statutory items that should be on there. So I'm not sure why that's not on there. I don't know how other members feel, but verbal updates is quite difficult. It would be quite good if we actually had written updates, because if we've got a report beforehand, as Kim kindly, our officer kindly presented, we can then formalise some questions. But I'll leave that to other members if they agree or disagree.
Councillor Brewer, oh sorry, Councillor FD was next. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. On other council committee meetings, we have KPIs now. And on my one, only half the KPIs were actually relevant to the actual committee because it was Place. And Place had a lot of development and other bits which wasn't really relevant to economic development and tourism. So is there a space we can find for the KPIs? So no KPIs are going to other committees as well, where we can collate them, say, in, what's our last meeting? January next year, haven't we? March next year. Maybe we could collate the KPIs going through the year and actually have something where we can have an overall look on how well the council is doing in what it does.
Sorry, Greg Campbell, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor FD. So the Constitutional Working Group last year changed some of the remits of the committee so that the performance measures went to the individual committees, rightly so, and I think we know that. What was also produced after the year, which is end March next year, is the governance report, which includes all the KPIs, and that usually goes to council for the council just to accept that the whole year has been put forward to there. I don't think there's an issue if that report wanted to come here first, but it wouldn't be until obviously after March when everything, all the quarters have been complete and into the next year. If that makes sense.
You wish to come back, yes?
Yeah, I think that sounds a good idea because we are review and scrutiny, so we can review and maybe make some suggestions. So I don't know if it will come before or after, hopefully before full council, the last council of the year. So that would be really useful if that could be put on the forward plan, please.
So you've got a view on that?
So what I would say is obviously the last quarter is at the end of March, and when we produce that report, we'll look at the committee timings and scrutiny before it goes to full council. So if we can get it to this committee before, we'll make sure we can. I think if it just falls after, we need to work that out. But usually there is a full list of committees before the first full council of next year in terms of the committee year.
I mean, if the work plan's light for January, we could always bring something forward because there's always something else that's going to turn up for March.
I think, Chair, as we've found out over the year, there are things that develop, and if there is things that need to be called to scrutinise for any particular reason, what I would say is looking at some of the items on there, as we say, we're bringing the police and SEP to one meeting. That could be quite a long item for discussion. Obviously, there is the section, the review of the 106 monies and NHS funding, section 106 monies. So those themselves should create some debate and some discussion. I take your point. We'll have a look at where, I'll remember the item, where that goes. It may be that it's now because of the Constitutional Working Party or Working Group got together. It may fit under the committee. I'll find out and make sure that it is certainly captured somewhere, Chair.
Councillor McPherson, sorry.
Sorry, my question still hasn't been answered about whether we can have written reports instead of verbal.
Oh, you want written updates? Okay. Okay, that's all right. I missed what you said there, sorry. Councillor Shaw.
So I'm actually chairman of SEP for Essex, South Essex Parking Partnership, and I completely agree with Councillor McPherson. We had Nick Binder come when we were at the Mill Hall, and literally a lot of what he was saying was too highbrow, and we had no written reports. I've got a meeting with him sometime this month. I can actually ask for a written report to come to this committee rather than actually drag anyone from the SEP committee. And it won't be the police. The police will not want to know anything about parking outside the schools. So it's a bit of a waste of time asking the police. It will be SEP. And I say I can actually ask for a written report. I get them every month anyway, so I can collate them, but I'll get an up-to-date one for you, or for this committee.
Yeah, thank you very much. That would be very useful, because the issue rotating around the safer schools was that Essex were applying for lottery funding for a limited number of schools to get some action around the schools.
Yeah, can I come in there, Chair?
Yeah.
But that is quite correct. But unless you get the schools to sign up, it won't happen. And we've only got about 4 schools in the Rochford district that have signed up. It's like banging your head against a brick wall. They are not interested to help our children, unfortunately. We have. There is some money. It's a small pot, but unless you can get the schools to sign up and go from bronze, silver, gold, that's the way it goes. Accreditation. It's like when they said about the dementia training. If no one turns up, it's no good. So I don't know how. I don't know if councillors can go into their local schools and say, look, we've got to get our children protected. And we're banging our heads against brick wall, Essex. So, but I can get a report. I'll ask Nick Binder to do us a report, and Russell as well.
Yeah, thank you, because what happened was that right on the back of us being told about this Safer Schools programme, residents wrote in about real antisocial things going on, not just parking on a line where they shouldn't be. It's like parking straight in somebody's front garden and all the rest of it. And the people, when we asked about why there was a low take-up on attendance when there were problems like this with really bad parking, bad driving, it was intimated to us that some of the officers who actually have to deal with the issuing of the tickets felt intimidated by some of the parents, hence the question about the police end of it. And if you're going to do anything at all, and I agree, the headmasters or the schools themselves, I've had a school on my ward, I've asked for him to be written to have a meeting on my ward. I've got a couple of schools like that, so I think I should really be fair, get a letter to the other school as well, and ask them why they are not so keen on supporting it. Yeah.
You're quite correct. And I've been out with our enforcement officers. Don't forget, we've only got 3 in the Rochford district, so they can't go everywhere all the time. And we've found that nans and granddads take the children to school and they've got a disabled badge so they can park anywhere they like. That's one problem. And I was with one officer and he said, you can't park there, madam. And she said, I don't care, I can afford it anyway, so I don't care about the fine. And, we've got to change the attitude. We've got to educate the children to have a go at the parents. That's the way to do it. But unless we can get the schools to actually do the Safer Parking Partnership, we're wasting our time. But I say, I will get you I'll ask Nick Binder to do a report for you.
Okay, and because that does tell us actually that we need to be informed about all of this, and the end result of that is, of course, it is an issue for being scrutinised. There's no other way to put it. So there we are. Councillor Brewer is next, thank you.
No, sorry. Oh, shutting down there. It's only from Councillor McPherson when she asked about the verbal updates, and we have the written ones. I fully support that. I remember a couple of meetings ago. I believe one of the officers was ill. We didn't get the presentation. We had the verbal update, and we got lost. So I just want to say I fully support that. Yes, please, anything we can have it in writing. It'd be much better, particularly for me, my memory.
Meanwhile, I'll suggest to Greg that we could look at bringing something forward from the March meeting into the January one, if that's practical.
If it's possible, I'd have to talk to obviously the officers who are writing. There may be reasons for it being in March, but obviously I can have a look at that.
Okay, because as you might appreciate, the role of scrutiny in the committee system is slightly different. There's a the long version of why it's different has been published by the Local Government Association. If you had a cabinet, you're going to call in things and scrutinise things from the cabinet, but the committees do quite a level of scrutiny inside their each remit. So it is a different, and the role now is we would look at things that may come up in the press that are concerning, or things that are raised by residents that are concerning. And this was in part the safer streets around schools is because of residents, as well as Essex County Council, having a willingness to try some, a bit of an experiment really, isn't it, and get some funding for it. So there we are. But yeah, we appreciate one of the things we could be looking at, 3 people enough for the job, and of course then there comes the problem of funding.
If you can give me £30,000, then we can actually hire more enforcement. But we haven't got that £30,000. And unfortunately for Rochford at the moment, we've got one off long-term sick. Sorry, so that's the state of play.
Yeah, thank you. I knew there was one member of staff off sick. Thank you.
And Chairman, the January meeting has actually got 4 quiet meaty items already on the agenda. It was more tonight, just only had 2 items. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, we will look at this, and we will look at the meat on the bone, because a couple of members have actually emailed me and said, that the programme they thought was looking light. But I'll be guided by the officers because they've got a better feel for this. Yeah. Thank you anyway. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, can I just come back to the road safety around schools? I mean, I'm sure every head teacher and chair of governors wants to keep their children safe. I think it might be good to ask one of the head teachers or chair of governors from one of the schools that is taking part in the road safety campaigns to come and speak to us, because often success breeds success amongst schools and head teachers. And if they hear about the positive impact, and I totally agree, it is about educating children, reminding their parents of their obligations to keep everyone safe as well. But it really does need to be done in partnership with our local schools. So I'd be very interested to hear from a local head teacher about the positive impact of that scheme around their school.
Thank you. Actually, I think the officers are writing or written to a particular really good quality head teacher in my ward, and we can have a meeting with him because he would really be really got confidence that he'd be a pretty useful person to talk to in that score, and then we can feed back to the committee about that, and see where we can go from there. I agree with you about the children, because if the children have got an opinion on it, it will bounce back to the parents. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, has anyone got any other questions about the work plan? Are we noting the work plan? But we will keep an eye on it, and we'll keep an eye on the content as well. Thank you. Thanks very much, and thank you all for coming. Thank you. And Angelina, thank you. Oh, yes. I can declare the meeting closed at 20:26. Thank you.